Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Code with Ease by Varsha. I've recently cleared the AWS Solutions Architect Associate Level certification with just 2 weeks of preparation. I had prior experience with AWS and my own personal reasons in clearing the exam in just 2 weeks, although this is not the recommended amount of time which you should take to prepare for the exam and appear for it, given the verbosity and the depth of the content which this exam covers. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and hit the bell icon to receive more updates on more upcoming videos around the AWS Solutions Architect examination, my tips, strategies, etc. Okay. Now, if you are new to AWS, completely zero hands-on experience, this is not the exam which I would suggest because this is more like an intermediate level of exam. AWS has three types of certification level. One is foundational, then you have associate, professional, and then you have specialty exams. So this one was the associate level exam. If you are having zero experience, I would recommend you to take the foundational exam, which is the cloud practitioner exam. I have not given that exam because I already had 3-4 years of AWS experience. So it's my first AWS exam which I gave, the AWS certification exam which I gave. So in today's video, I'm going to cover in depth about my experience with the exam, my exam strategies, resources that I've used, the challenges, and one bonus announcement regarding the revision thing which I have been able to achieve, which I've been able to crack rather in 2 weeks. So I'm doing something around that. I'm going to talk about that at the end of the video. So stay tuned for that. Please understand that this video is going to be a little different from the usual videos that you have because I'm not going to straight away dive into the resources and just go around beating about the bush about the same resources, do this, do that. I have a different approach which I'm going to tell. Before we go into the steps of the exam preparation strategy and everything, the step 0 which you must have before you start preparation if you're really serious about this exam is to get a printout like this of the exam guide. Where to get this exam guide and everything I'm going to show you in the next steps. But like I have the exam guide, this is your Bible, this is your North Star, this is your source of truth, whatever it is, this has to be there with you while you're preparing for the exam, no matter what resources you're using. So if you prefer digital, that is also fine. You can have a PDF handy. But this is like hardly 10-12 pages, which I got a printout of. The first thing, the first day when I started preparation, and I prefer printout because I want to have a look and feel of what I'm studying, circle the things which I want to study or I'm having difficulty in labeling and everything, like the things which you can basically do when you have a paper with you. So this is there with me even on the exam day. I took this along with me just to have the last minute revision. Again, this is not the efficient way, but I'm working towards that efficient way of revision. So which I'm going to talk about that at the end of the video. So stay tuned. Let's go to the screen now and let's start with the preparation strategy. Cool. So now we know that the step 0 is to get a printout of the exam guide and keep it handy. Next, I'm going to go to this portal wherein you are going to get a brief overview about the exam, what it is. So let's go there. And then we'll also walk through the exam guide. See, this portal is actually giving you a brief idea about what this exam is about. You can also schedule the exam from here, so save this. Now, this is an associate level exam, like I mentioned before. Duration of the exam is 130 minutes. You get 65 questions of two types. You have a mix of multiple choice and multi-select answers. And the cost of the exam is $150. Now, do not get overwhelmed by seeing the duration of the exam and do not get overwhelmed by seeing the cost of this exam because both of them can be changed. So basically you have a way to increase the duration of the exam. You can allot 30 minutes extra if you are non-native English speaker, like if you're non-native English speaker, like if you're an Indian, for example. And the cost can also be reduced. Like I got a 50% discount voucher. It depends. It varies from time to time. So do not have to worry about the cost of the exam right now. And also do not have to worry about the duration. Mainly focus on your preparation, your depth of the concepts, and how well you can think like an architect. So that is what is more important. Then in this, you also have the steps how you can get prepared. There is something called AWS Skill Builder, which I have not used, but you can use that as well for your preparation. So this is more like generic information stuff which you need to know for preparing for the exam. But as I mentioned, I'm going to give you some very specific details about how I used my strategy to prepare for the exam. So let's go into that. So this is the exam guide. So I've opened this exam guide. You can get a link to this from here only. You can just click on this. This is the exam guides printout, which I was talking about. It's like 23 pages. You can just get a printout of this. So from here, what are the important things which you have to know is what is the exam content? We have already discussed that. Now from this page, like there were 65 questions, but among them, only 50 questions will count towards your actual score. 15 questions are unscored. It will not affect your score. Passing score is 720, and this is the total scale from 100 to 1000. You have to get 720 to pass the exam. So these are the basic things which you have to know when you're starting the preparation. Nothing to fret about at the beginning. Now, after that, the main thing is the domains of the exam. So there are 4 domains: secure architecture, resilient architecture, high performing, and cost optimization. These are the main pillars. So people who are studying system design will understand why these domains are important. So basically all the system architecture point of view. From that point of view, these domains are divided. Now every domain has certain weightage. So now if you start scrolling down, this is where the verbosity kicks in. Like you see pages filled with so many data points about the services and what to know about each services and everything. So this is the verbosity which I was referring to. Anybody who is a beginner will get easily overwhelmed by seeing this kind of a list, which is spanning like easily 10 to 15 pages of the content or the syllabus of the exam. So what you need to do is, initially, if you are familiar with AWS for a couple of years, you may read through it, have a glimpse, try to circle the important points. That is okay. But if you're completely beginner, right, or if you're studying after a really long time, the best thing which you can do is go to this appendix part. Over here, you will basically have like buckets of like the categories of all the different services. You have compute, containers, networking, analytics, machine learning, microservices, etc. These are the different buckets which you already have. From this bucket, we are going to create our own version of Eisenhower Matrix. I'm going to show what is this Eisenhower Matrix which I have used. So that is what is going to tell you where do you stand and where do you need to focus your attention towards. So this is the appendix. These are the main sections. And under each section, you have the list of AWS services which you have to be familiar about. And of course, about the depth and details about every service, right? So this is the appendix part. I'll come to this appendix part again towards the end of the video. So now let me go to my whiteboard again. See, this is the Eisenhower Matrix, how I created it. So if I just point out the important parts, one is the known and there is unknown on the left hand side axis. And we have priority wise, high priority and low priority. Okay. So this is my version of Eisenhower Matrix, not the usual one which you see. See, why do we need this matrix is because now we have a couple of topics. So for example, we know that compute service, okay, compute service is a high priority service because from the 4 domains, we know we have secure, resilient, high performing, cost. So compute is something which is very important. Networking concepts have a lot of weightage. So now if these concepts, if you know very well about EC2, if you know very well about VPC, you can say that these are high priority, but these are known topics. On the other hand, let's say IAM. This is also a critical service, which is also high priority. But let's say you are not very familiar about the IAM advanced part. So how will you know which you are aware or which you are not aware? Again, you have to go and refer to that appendix. Similarly, now let's say you have security. As we know, secure architecture is so much important, but let's say everything about security. Now, if I again go to the appendix, so you see security, identity, compliance, the list of all the services. Let's say these are not familiar to you, but this is high priority given the domain. So in that case, this will fall under your unknown but high priority. Similarly, now you have low priority. known and unknown. So over here, you can put the ones which are known to you and which are unknown to you. A priority you can decide based on the domains. So in my case, for example, the machine learning services, these were completely unknown to me. And these are having secondary importance, like secondary because we don't have much questions and there's not much importance being given in the exam guide when I skim through it. So this is not very important. Then we also have something on the analytics. But this were a little bit known to me. Like I knew a little bit about Firehose and Glue. So this is and Kinesis. So this was falling under the known category. So in this way now, when you keep on jotting down all the different services or the domains under these metrics, you will get a brief idea or a glimpse or a bird eye overview of what are the things which are known to you, what are the things which are not known to you. Basically, when you do this, you are basically going to know that things which are of high priority but unknown, this is going to be my P0. So this is going to be my highest priority, which I have to right away start studying. Then how will it be? After that, you can go to the low priority and unknown. So you can mark this as P1. Because always you have to tackle the one which is unknown. So first you do this. First you do this, then you do this P1. Then this is P1. Then this is P2. And then this is P3. But this strategy is something which is up to you. Like if you want, you can take this kind of an approach also, or you can again try to find out which is your weak point and then accordingly by solving mock papers. So this is a strategy which will vary from one person to another person. But basically, this is what it is. This is the Eisenhower Matrix, which is going to help you in doing your SWOT analysis. So this is the step one after you get the exam guide. Once you have done this Eisenhower matrix, you have created now, what is the next step? This is the step two. So you know what is the thing which you need to study. So step two is your resources. Now this is the point when you actually have to start studying, start learning on what you want to study. Now I'm going to point to the resources which I have used, and you can choose something based on your understanding or based on whichever instructor you are more comfortable with, whether you want to go for also a video based course or you want to go through written like PDF or PPT, it is up to you. So I have taken these two resources, the Udemy course by Stephen Merrick and also the practice test by Chandra Lingam on Udemy. So now the thing is, Stephen Merrick's course will cover all the things which you have to know exactly based on the exam guide, like point to point. And it also has the 900 pages of PDF content which you can download. The second one, which is by Chandra Lingam, this practice test, and it also has separate videos on this. Now, when I went through this, I couldn't complete this because of the short span of time. What I found about this thing is, what I found nice about this is all the services are grouped into some single video. Like these are short 3 to 5 minutes lectures, video lectures, and all the services, the related services of the commonly confused services are grouped together, and the video is done in a way as if it will be very easier for you to correlate from a more real world perspective. Like what is the actual need of an EC2 or what is the actual need of a VPC in a security group. So from very first levels thinking point of view, he has done this particular course. So because I had already my subscription, a free subscription, it's a corporate subscription to Udemy, all the courses, so I could access left, right, and center every course for free. But again, if you're paying for each course, I would suggest first you should buy the Stephen Merrick course or go for an Udemy subscription, which costs much lesser, and you have access to more courses on Udemy for free. So you can also practice. There are a lot of practice tests also available on Udemy. But again, Coming back to the point that you have your Eisenhower matrix and now you have your Udemy courses from where you have to start studying. For hands-on labs, I have not used any, but I have heard there is this Wiz Labs, which is very popular, in which you're going to get, like if you click on AWS Solutions Architect, you will get computer like hands-on labs. But again, you don't have to necessarily buy this, because whenever you're going through this Udemy course, whatever service that you are going through and you're learning from that, try to open your AWS console and start working on that. Like again, if you do not have an AWS console account, do sign up for it, and most of the services will be in the free tier, and be very mindful about the cost. If you want another video on cost, budget, setup on AWS account, how to practice hands-on lab, if you're a beginner in that, let me know in the comments. I'm going to guide you in that. So three things we have Stephen Merrick's course, we have Chandralingam's course, and we have Wiz Labs for hands-on. Again, this is optional, not necessary for you, because the way these courses are structured, that they will also ensure that you have enough hands-on practice done for every AWS service. And this is very important. So now we have our resources with us. We also know what to study based on the above matrix, that we are going to attempt the hard topics first. So we have access to PDF, we have access to all the video resources that we have talked about. We know what to practice. There is hands-on lab. So by this time, you have all the necessary resources ready with you. So there's nothing to complain that you do not have sufficient study material. So now what is the next thing? What is the main blocker? The next thing, which is actually important, is the time management. When you have all the different hard topics lined up, okay, over here, and you have so many resources, the problem is how will you juggle your time between all these so that you can have an efficient preparation, right? And people who are already working full time will only have in weekdays, let's say 2 to 3 hours. So you have to devote 2 to 3 hours in your weekdays towards this preparation. And on weekends, you have to stretch. Okay. Now, what will you do in these weekdays? This is the important question, right? So what I used to do is in morning, okay, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. because I was anyway having more crunch time. Uh, so in the morning hours, I used to study on two things mainly: the new topics, the hard topics, the unknown topics. Those were the first thing which I used to study. And in the later part of my preparation, I used to give mock test. So either I used to study some new thing or I used to give a mock test. Revision was something which I used to reserve it for my evening time. So again, on the weekdays, if I had some, let's say 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. slot, that was the time when I used to do some light revision on whatever new things that I've studied in the morning. So this is how I'm closing the loop. I learned something new in the morning, I revised it, and now that thing is now settled in my brain. Or I learned something new, I gave a test or maybe attempted few practice questions, and again I revised it, those questions which I went wrong, and I have it settled in my brain. So this is the strategy, very simple strategy, which you can use in your weekdays. In weekends, in the weekends, what you can actually do is you have to break your day into 4 parts. Okay. So in weekend, you can break your day into 4 parts. So morning, and then uh, mid morning. Okay. Then you can take some rest in the afternoon, this evening. Okay. And then night, maybe an hour or two before sleep. So again, it's the same thing which you can do. These are the 4 slots. So do anything new and hard and challenging. Okay. All these things should be done in these 2 slots, morning to mid morning up to 1 p.m. So this is the time when you have to absorb new concepts in the mind, and in the evening you have to start to wrap up. Start wrap up, do light revision, okay? Practice questions. Again, go and do revisions. You have to do just a bit of back and forth. You revise, you practice. Don't learn too many, information while in the second half of the day. Like no new information. Just you have to consolidate whatever you have learned throughout the day. Consolidate your learning. So this is very important because this entire syllabus is very detailed. It's like too much of information which you have to keep in your mind. And again, if you think of it in a way that you're keeping information in your mind, you will become stressed out. It is like you're taking in that information, you have to see that how you can actually apply and implement in the real world perspective. You have to think like an architect also. Again, more on those kind of thinking mindset and things in my later videos. But just to give you a glimpse of how to manage time so that you can give this exam in like 2 months of preparation, is this is what you have to do to manage your time. Which I want to talk about while you are learning is the notes. So notes, you can take it on paper, or or you can take it digitally. So now I prefer paper because that just helps me to reinforce my learning. Digital, you can use Notion or any kind of note taking app basically. Another method which worked for me is, let's say I'm going through the PPT of Stephen Marek. So over there, how many pages I told? I told, like, let's say there are 900 pages of PPT or any kind of PPT or PDF information that you have. I used to do one thing. Uh, I used to take a screenshot of the important pages and keep it in my local. I used to take a screenshot of the PPT also, plus I used to take a screenshot of the hard practice questions. So when I was practicing the question, whatever was hard, I used to take screenshots. So it's like keeping an archive of all the things which are important, hard for you, so that you don't have to take, or you don't have to spend much energy in writing and typing. Anything which is initial phase of the study should be spent on like lowered effort on your part on doing manual work. More should be towards actually absorbing the material as much as possible. That is the main goal which you have to do. So let's say you have spent a good amount of time in revision, you have done some practice questions also, whatever was available in the Udemy courses, or maybe you also get some practice questions over YouTube, uh, and you have your notes, you have your PDF, everything. So now, the final step is to now start giving your mock test, and you have to actually be very serious. You have to be very serious about this. So you have to get a paid course, because there is one resource which is wonderful in this for this exam, and that is Tutorial Dojo's mock test, which everyone who gives the exam has to get it. The reason behind taking a paid mock test, okay, first, what is the reason behind taking a mock test is to get an evaluation of how well your preparation is. And the reason behind taking a paid mock test is because the people who have put together the questions, they try to make it more closer to the exam guide that you have. So as much closer as it can get to the exam guide. So that is why when you prepare on these questions which they have made, which is modeled around the exam guide by putting in all the effort, when you go to the exam, on the day of the exam, you feel more confident. And most of the questions which you would see will be borrowed from the concepts which you would have studied and failed and learned and made mistakes again and again from these mock tests. So that is why the mock test is very important. Like, look at me, like I prepared for like in like 2 weeks. So for me, this was very important. So every single question of the mock test was very important, and more important than the question was the answer. And I'll tell you one trick over here. The trick is, let's say there is a question and there are four options. So usually for every question, if it's a multiple choice question, obviously there is going to be one answer which will be right. And rest, let me just color code it. Rest will be wrong. Okay. So you know this is correct. Now the ones which are wrong, that is where the fun lies. So you have to read the answers and you have to understand why these three options were wrong. So when you do that multiplied over 50 questions, so you don't just know about 50 answers, you know 50 into 4, you know about 200. So you see, just because you've gone through the wrong answers and you know why they're wrong, it helps you in one important thing, that is the elimination of wrong answers. So the more you can eliminate, the better it will be for you. Again, elimination technique is a strategy behind answering these kind of questions. If you want a dedicated video on that, let me know in the comments also about that. So this is very important, and that is why I'm going to show you the mock test which I took, and that was tutorials dojos. You go over here. There are a lot of different exams. Just have to search for the AWS one. This is the exam code is SAAC03. Sometimes you also get coupon codes. You have to just look it up online. So this is the one. Now over this here, you see there are 5 exam modes. There are timed mode, which is similar to the exact exam. What I love the most is the section-based test, because you have 4 domains, so you have 4 sections, and the review mode. Okay, so review mode and section-based tests are something which I've done the most rather than the rest of the remaining modes. So it is very important for you to also do the same. And that is it about the paid mock test that you have to do. And finally, now, once you have done the mock test, I think the important part, the announcement part, which I was talking about, is the revision. Now that you have all your resources, so now the final part is revision. So you have so many resources, right? There's so many resources. How will you consolidate all your learnings? I think this was a challenge for me because I had such less time to prepare and to revise. So I'm working on a resource which is actually going to give you a brief revision guide sort of a thing, so that just 2 to 3 days before the exam, if you read that guide, it will be covering all the things which you uh, need to know for this exam. This is going to be in addition to your own notes, your own cheat sheet or something. So I'm working on that kind of a resource which is going to give 100% bird's eye overview of all the commonly confusing services, and that entire appendix, and also around the domains. So around the domains of learning, like you have 4 domains. So that is the bonus resource which I am working on. So let's see how it goes. If you want to sign up for that, the link to that is also given below. You can sign up and join the waitlist, so that when I complete preparing that cheat sheet, I'm going to share it with you guys also. So I think it is time for you to join the waitlist, link below. And I hope you guys have got some value out of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below on the next video that you want to see along this topic. Thank you so much.